said talk to me, damn it, or else I'm gonna throw you in the fire!
You stupid bitch, you filthy... Flyover state of fear. Welcome back to Flyover State of Fear with me and Brian. Hi, Brian.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
How are you? How have you been? I know we took about a week or two since we've chatted about these movies.
It's it just got too spooky. We needed a little bit of a break.
Oh, this is terrifying.
I'm gonna let our fans in on the fact that we're recording this on my 20th wedding anniversary.
Yeah, he's a trooper.
You might think that makes me seem like a crappy husband, but I want you to think of it that it makes my wife seem cool as hell.
That's one way to look at it. Not like, hey, babe, let's sit down, let's watch Alien for like the 94th time, or Chucky 2, or Child's Play 2. I'm trying to think of movies you both two really like.
Oh, yeah, honestly, like every movie I've watched in the last 20 years has almost been with Sarah, so...
Yeah.
We love you, honey, you'll never see this.
I have that, so every movie that's not the horror movies I've watched with my little wife in the last 11, 12 years. Yeah. That's actually, I watch a lot of stuff without her because I have a much faster pace, but you get the drift.
But I'm on the flip side where like Sarah almost exclusively wants to watch horror.
Yes.
Sometimes I'm like, let's watch something else. She's like, no.
Let's watch trash. Let's watch.
Yeah. Let's watch. Let's watch. Oh God, what was the one? The Flood. The crocodile movie with Casper Van Dien, where he gets like locked in a prison.
I remember getting
flooded with crocodiles or alligators.
Getting texts from you about this.
It's quite bad.
Yeah, it doesn't sound good.
It's perfect for you though.
Oh,
you gotta watch it. It'll probably be on the How Did This Get Made. You probably wait. It'll be on How Did This Get Made in a couple.
I can't
Actually, you
wait.
know what? It's not weird enough for this. We know how this got made. Somebody had like $20.
That's not the point of the
money for Casper Van Dien.
How This Get Made is just a headline. That is the one thing most people forget when I tell them at the show. They're like, "Oh, like no, they don't get into how it."
What I mean is that like, not that they don't cover this type of thing, but just that like. This probably isn't interesting enough because like they like to get something that's got a little bit better of a like story to it than this. This is almost like to Asylum level for them. This is like beneath them.
They stay away from the Asylum shows, except like early in the show, you got a little of the Sharknadoes before like the joke of it ran out.
Well, that's while they were still finding their feet.
Yes, but like, since then, like you'll get more like 80s bad B stuff, like Hell Comes to Frogtown,
right?
Or like Chopping Mall or something,
right? They're finally getting around to the stuff from the best of the worst.
Yeah, exactly. I just named two best of the worst. Speaking of that, though, I'm very excited. I saw on How This Get Made, like that they're doing a live show of The Happening. Finally, they're finally getting to that movie. That has been like, I feel like I feel like they mentioned doing that movie. I heard them on a pod. Like 9 years ago.
Yeah, it is one of the holy grail bad movies, and like
it's like
kind of unironically funny, like it's unintentionally funny. I mean, like
it's
or if you watch it as a comedy, maybe intentionally funny. I don't know.
It's right there. I've watched it. I've laughed. Someone recently was like, "Come on, man, it's not that bad," and I was like, "It is." It is.
We can
admit things are that bad. It's not good. I don't care what.
Not everything needs revisionist. Sometimes it's okay to just admit things are bad.
It was a recent conversation, and I was like, I get it. I understand what they were trying to accomplish by these 50s and 40s, but it's bad guys. And then in the same breath, or same person recently trying to explain, because everyone knows how I watch these things. I was like, Madam Web. Just picked it up for $5 on the Facebook Marketplace. I made money, baby. And they were like, what do you mean it's terrible? I'm like, yeah, that's not why I'm watching it. It's so funny.
It's
And I
hilarious.
had to say, I'm not telling anyone here to watch it though. Please don't
It's on
take this as a
Netflix though. It just got to
recommendation.
Netflix, so now people
It's
can now the
number
whole
one.
world.
It's number
Oh,
one
the
on Netflix.
whole world can share. I can't believe it. Unseated, unfrosted. That's wild.
Oh, that's more of a horror movie.
Turns out that's a pro-genocide movie. That's wild.
Is it?
No, it's just by Jerry
Oh yeah,
Seinfeld.
sorry.
Speaking of things we've watched that are
Yeah,
not
what have you watched
pro-genocide,
recently? Yeah.
we always like to mention shout out a couple of recent horror watches here. I watched a movie on Shudder with the girl who is currently starring in Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes as the human, and her name's Freya Allen. She's from The Witcher, but she was in a movie called Baghead.
Ooh, I've
Pretty
been hearing
fun.
about
I would
that.
put it like in the cobweb kind of realm of the kind of like that's
It looked
one of
like
those
not
creature, like haunted story, kind of
yeah,
thing.
not to confuse the Duplass mumblecore movie Baghead.
Oh no, is that another one? Is that like with their creep
No, it's
movies? Is that like
before
that thing kind of
it's an
similar?
interesting concept. It's before Creep. It's filmed on the worst digital camera you've ever seen. And it's about a group of friends who go to like a cabin in the woods to write a screenplay, like a horror screenplay, and the killer they're writing about, Baghead, shows up as they're writing it. And I don't remember much of it. It was in that Mumblecore era, but
Sure.
when everyone kept saying, "Do you see Baghead or see the thing?" I'm like, that really mid Mumblecore movie. No, I heard good things though about Baghead on
Yeah,
Shudder.
it was. I mean, it wasn't like I said. I wouldn't call it
It's Cobweb.
groundbreaking or anything, but it was competent
Cobweb.
and it was fun. Worth a watch. And then the other thing I watched was something that I heard brought up a couple different times when people were talking about Late Night with the Devil, and it's a little movie. It's called Ghost Watch. It
I've heard
aired on
been
the BBC in 1992. Basically, it's like a produced kind of like spook show about like them investigating a haunting at a house. It's kind of based on the same family that's in The Conjuring 2 that
mm,
story's based on. But it was made, but they didn't tell anybody that it was scripted. So like people watching it at home like on the BBC just thought it was like this news program, like a Zach Baggins thing, that like
yeah,
they
I've
were
been
watching people legitimately going after ghosts. So then when there was like shit haunted shit, ghosts showing up in the background and weird stuff going on and everything, people really legitimately freaked out and called the BBC
hold
and,
on.
like freaked out and everything. And it
I
was a
didn't
fun
even.
watch. And it was like, obviously more subtle and like of its very much of its era, but that kind of is what had why it had such a charm to it. I really enjoyed it.
I want to get on that because it looked really enjoyable.
I forgot. I think it
Friend,
was on. I think I checked it out on Shutter. Yeah, it was
it's
on
on
Shutter
Shutter.
also.
Yeah,
Yeah.
friend of the show, Sam, was heavily recommending that to me.
Oh, nice. We love
Uh,
Sam. I don't know if she
yeah,
watches, but
no one does, but she does. I don't know. Hi, Sam. Early guest Sam and good friend. But no, she was heavily recommending that movie to me. And
if
I
Sam
think
recommends it, she's got just like her taste is.
yeah,
She's got
it
it. She
is.
does not
She,
miss.
I've had a few misses, but I also like her a
All
lot.
right, I was trying to give her a compliment. My
I
bad.
think Ghost Watch, like a movie like Ghost Watch, and even what we watched today, Tragic Girls. I think I'm pocketing a lot of these for like end of summer, getting into fall spooky season at this point.
Yeah, I can see that. Sure.
I want to rewatch Late Night with the Devil, but I'm like, ooh, I'm just gonna hit that up
Yeah,
in that.
like we're already in May, like get through the big summer
Yeah,
movies and the blockbusters and everything, and then all of a sudden it'll be
because
the end of August. We'll be ready to gear up for spooky season.
I finally have a free day on, like, not free day, but a day of like just me doing nothing on Saturday. So I'm gonna do a catch up and watch like Abigail, that first Omen movie.
I
Just like
like that one. I was really bummed I didn't get to see that in the theater. I chose instead. We ended up seeing Monkey Man that weekend.
mm,
Um, but like I heard it was legitimately First Omen was legitimately quite good. So I'm excited to
yeah, I
check
want to
that one
watch
out
that.
too.
I checked out two. Well, one really not worth mentioning, just awful. To 2012's The Possession, just mediocre, terrible possession movie with Jeffrey D. Morgan and some kids. The spin on this is that it was of the Jewish faith.
Oh yeah, they have the Dybbuk box. Is that one with the Dybbuk box?
Yep.
It was. I remember that.
Interesting premise. Bad.
Just kind of. It was very much hey, Sinister just came out. Kind of
had the same things, the same like the trailer shots of creepy things aren't actually what was creepy. Threw that on. A lot of these are thrown on that are on like Tubies and other places that I could get away with putting it up at work.
Yeah, sure.
That's not like I saw Netflix.com. You're like, you don't know what Tubi is. No one monitors that. Throw on Bride of Chucky is some nice background noise.
A classic.
Just always hits. Anyway, no, that's good though. But we're talking about 2017's Tragedy Girls today. Now, I wanted to. This is a pick more because I'd seen this once a couple years ago, and then I picked up this beautiful Blu-ray. It's one of those like boutique copies.
Nice.
From. It's not Vinegar Syndrome, but it's like on the site, Gunpowder Ski.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, it's a really good Blu-ray. I was shocked. Like, this is some of the best special features and like loaded with interviews and like docs I've seen and commentaries. Tried watching an interview with the director. He said too much. I know that's ironic because we have a podcast, but I was like, ooh, okay. I don't care enough to watch these.
Sorry, I can't track with you. I'm old.
But I wanted to watch. I remember it being kind of fun. I don't remember it being perfect, but I remember it being a nice hoppy blend of horror, comedy, and what are your initial thoughts and what's going on, Brian?
Yeah, well, I was not particularly familiar with this at all. Like, I think, I probably maybe heard about it in passing around the time it came out, because obviously, I'm tuned in general, but just so much stuff comes and goes, and this is, this was 2017, so there was kind of a lot of like, like girl powery kind of like horror and action stuff trying to come out and like fight
Final
for that
Girls
market at that time and stuff. So I was not super familiar with this. The girls in it, Brianna Hildebrand, I only know from the Deadpool movies, and was it Ariana? Was it Ship? I know her last name Ship. Is it Ariana Ship?
Oh, I got her right here.
No, I messed it up.
Alexandria Ship.
Alexandria
and
Ship.
Brianna Hildebrand.
And Brianna Hildebrand.
They're both X-Men alum.
Yeah, they're both X-Men now. Yeah, exactly. She was Storm. She was the bad Storm, which is wild to say because Halle Berry Storm's pretty bad too. No, it's not fair. That's rude. She probably wasn't the bad Storm. She's just a decent Storm in some very terrible movies. But,
those were just bad movies when they finally introduced Storm.
But no, I was not particularly familiar with this. I am, tacitly familiar. The director is the same guy who did "It's a Wonderful Knife," which just came out last year.
Which is so much worse than this.
But I was thinking about it. It's not written by him, and if you think about it just from a directing standpoint, it's like, okay, it was competently directed, though.
Yeah. Do you know what?
It's more. My problem with both, and this is a side tangent, but it's tacitly involved because it does. I feel like this movie's in the same genre. Those movies that guy, the writer, Freaky, and It's a Wonderful Knife. We might have talked about this around the time it came out. I feel like they are too, like, the idea is too strong, and they're too confident in their like, hey, what if Freaky Friday but with a serial killer? And they're like, oh, that's a good idea, and they're not wrong. That is a good idea, but then they kind of like underwrite the movie. They're like too confident that the idea will carry the movie. That the idea is going to carry, and then I feel like the movies, and I felt that way about both of those. Not terrible. It's a Wonderful Knife, considerably worse than Freaky.
I like Freaky, but this,
and then this is better than both of them. And I would say this is probably, not to get ahead of myself, but I think I like this better than like Scream Queens or any of those kind of like similar vibed.
Oh, there's a definitely vibe of it. I don't know if I fully agree with you about the Freaky. I did enjoy Freaky. Yeah, you're right, directly, competently, and he wrote this. It was interesting to find out too. The director, let's get his name right. Tyler McInerney. McInerney. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we
He
didn't get his name right, but oh well.
He wrote that Five Nights at Freddy's movie.
Yeah, I saw he was one of the writers on that. I didn't know if he's the only one, but he's
No, there
definitely
was like
worked
2
on
or
it.
3 writers. And
Yeah. Hey, well, maybe he knows Josh Hutcherson from this, and maybe they kind of like
probably
team up a little.
But yeah, this stood out to me. This was one of those movies I didn't know of it, and then I think it was just the desperate of like 2020, 2021 lockdown, and being like, that looks interesting enough.
Right.
I honestly probably went, I like Craig Robinson.
Yeah, honestly, I was like not knowing anything going into this. I had a lot of pleasant surprises. First of all, right away, Kevin Durant, big summer for this guy. He just popped up. He's in Abigail. He's the bad guy in the new Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and then he was the killer in this. Yeah,
is he?
He's Proximus Caesar. He's the main bad guy ape.
I'm going to see that next week. It's a strong movie. So anyway, this movie, real quick synopsis. Teenage crime reporters Sadie and Michaela are hot on the trail of a crazed serial killer. After capturing the maniac and holding him hostage, they soon realize the best way to boost their social media stardom is to commit the murders themselves. Not exactly what the movie is about.
Yeah, kind of, but not really.
I'd say it's more about these two sociopaths, or these two sociopath teenagers who are obsessed with being social media fame and want that success, but also
they're like they've got like the Scream villain thing where they just want to be famous,
but also have that like lust for murder and all this stuff. Do kidnap.
They do kind of slow reveal that they've always been that way. You kind of, at first, it seems like maybe they are just kind of getting in. Well, no, that's not true because they start off right away with using a kid as bait, and he gets murdered, and they're pretty blasé about it.
Like that's big
they're
part
pretty
of this.
blasé.
Like,
I was gonna say I thought they kind of slow rolled it, but the more I think about it, that's actually not true.
No, it's pretty like the movie itself is so. It's 98 minutes. Great. First note is it's number one positive. It's runtime.
Tight. Right. Love it.
But yeah, it starts off and the kids are just making out in a car parked in the craziest place to be, on a bridge, in the middle of a bridge.
Yeah, when you park in the middle of a bridge.
It freaks me out to be parked in the middle of any desolate road at any hour, because it's like you don't ever know who's gonna go zooming by. But
have these people ever seen Zodiac?
These girls, yeah.
They should have seen Zodiac.
The one thing the director makes very, very known is I've seen movies.
Yeah.
It's a little ham-fisted at sometimes, but this is a loud movie, I think, in its making, right? It's not going for subtle.
No. And that's okay. That's fine.
It's okay. I think the movie's style and everything helps it. So the movie starts off and kid, and like you said, there's fucking banging and shit, and she's actually, it's very attractive. She's very like, you pussy, get out of there. And I was like, ooh, do I like this? And no.
Yeah, she shames him into going and investigating the noise.
She's like, I guess. And he runs out. And my first was, oh, I'm just driving away. Like, no shot of my parking in the middle. Maybe in high school I have that hubris to be like, get out of the car, check it. Anyway, this kid gets his throat slit, and the girl runs through.
Actually, he gets a machete in the face.
Sorry, not throat slit, machete in the face. It's very important because the kills.
But there's like a speaking of baghead, there's a bag-headed psycho killer. Like they is basically outside their car and kills the guy and is chasing the girl
and so she. I promise you, I'm with it. That was a power yawn.
I'm revving up.
So she runs though. She runs away, and you notice the serial killer gets taken down by a tripwire, and her girlfriend kidnap her and her friend, because that's the big note of this movie, is that they should just made them gay together.
Yeah, does this movie have a case of the not gays because they keep like talking about ex-boyfriends? They're like forced, like it feels like it's active. It feels like it's actively trying to make sure you don't think they're a couple.
I think it's
in the way
so
that
apparent
most
that
movies with two men do that.
Yeah, I think it's so apparent that they love each other.
Yeah.
That
maybe they specifically were like, and obviously this is something you'd have to talk to the writer director about, but maybe it's more of a thing where they're specifically trying to make sure that it's not that they're romantically infatuated with each other, it's that they're like connected, they're bonded.
I think it's Thelma and Louise.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's there, but let's be real. This should just be I have thoughts on that. I was gonna stay for later, but I'll save it in the now. It's weird. This movie is very big in its generation, right? Of like, it's a millennial movie. It's tail end, right? They're like 27. They're supposed to be seniors in like 2016, 2017. For context, I graduated in 2010.
Yeah.
But they're very like millennial, and they make it clear. Like, it's one of my least favorite tropes that movies do, and this is my frustrating thing in this movie is talking in the hashtags. It's something that never happened, but movies, the whole millennial generation did. These girls do it. All right, but they're clearly millennials. I don't think, or like the tail end where they're supposed to be like zillennial, this and that.
Right, the micro generation that's kind of between millennial and Gen Z or whatever.
They're right. They're right there, I'd say. Where today, I bet you these girls would say we're Gen Z.
Yeah,
like they did. Like, but those girls become 25. They're good. Hey, no, I'm Gen Z. But when this movie came out, Gen Z wasn't really that term. Gen Z is very predominantly, as they should be, like open about being queer and everything else, right? Like it's a somewhat generational trait. If this was branded as a Gen Z movie and came out in 2020, they would have just made them queer. I think they were skirting around that a lot, with also, like you said, just trying to make the point of like, no, there's a deeper love with these two girls here.
Right. The connection here is not about like sexual lust or attraction and stuff. It's like they're connected on a different level, which is good. I mean, that's a good point to make.
And they could all be attracted to any different genders they want. I mean, they make a clear thing to have like the two different love interests, or like how she was so into Josh Hutcherson that she was kissing his, dead body. And I think your point is kind of ropes to the end. Your point is made even clearer up because, the big twist at the end of who got murdered and this and that, and they were little girls. She says, well, I was crying all day the next day because I was just afraid I would disappoint my friend.
Yeah.
Not that I was going to get caught or this, we did something bad. It was, I upset you.
Yeah.
So I think that brings into your over. But anyway, her and her heterosexual life mate. I don't know if they're heterosexual. As Jane Silent Bob would say. No, they kidnap the serial killer and tie him up, and then we basically get the info dump of their movie of, hey, we're gonna do this. We actually want to help.
It's like they know it's a weird situation. So they know that there's an active serial killer in the area,
and they're smart enough. Nobody else
believes them. So their plan is to like they catch him, but like they don't think he's notorious enough that them turning him in and stopping him will like give them the notoriety they want.
They want the clicks. They have a Twitter page,
right? So they need the killer to be like more famous and more well known and have more crimes attributed to him before they catch him. But they've already got him.
And they even say to him, "Hey, we'll work with you. Like, you need some brains of this operation.
Yeah.
And, so the guy's like, no, mad killer, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, he's crazy. He's like real crazy, not like
He's not.
like he's like a madman. He's like he's
Yeah.
like the murder. He's like the psycho murderer from a movie.
He's a psycho murderer, and they're sociopaths.
Yeah. I did want to get into real quick. Just I felt something. I feel like this movie's a little ahead of the curve on, which was like pointing out the kind of. I know it's like I don't want to pass judgment here, but the kind of like darker side of true crime obsession and like
it's
and like branding like these amateur detectives who like decide decide people's guilt and like search for evidence and are biased bad investigators who like
they're terrible
who have like predetermined things, and I feel like this movie is like touching on that a little bit. They're not doing it loud, but they're like getting into that just a touch where like
they're gonna get into
like there's something about people who are like really into true crime where they like detach themselves from it.
they'll be like, this person died. I listen to Make a
Murder. I listen to whatever the Georgia Hardstark and Karen Kilgariff. I listen to those podcasts. I'm a former junkie of murder podcasts too, but like there is an element where it's like, okay, this is too voyeuristic. This is too. I think really like when John Carpenter made those things for Peacock that were like little horror movies based on
we just talked about
events, and they're very like that kind of like in 2017 we hadn't gotten to stuff quite that bad yet, but I feel like this movie is like touching on just the light edges of that.
It gets its come up like I guess reveal or whatever later on when the teacher's like, teacher has her speech.
Oh yeah.
And she's like, how narcissistic and messed up are you guys that you're looking like you should give them the rundown of like, you're disgusting.
Yeah.
And it's about that. It's about
these murders all about you and everything and all that.
The girls, multiple times in my notes, I write, these are the most obviously, guilty girls ever. Because they run around just smiley and there's so much murder, even accidental murder, and they're like, it was a killer. Talk to us.
That's another thing. This is definitely taking place in a fantasy. Like,
it's a farce.
This is an exaggerated world because they're very bad and sloppy about murders.
Well,
that's a plot point first where they're trying to do some murders to make it look like this killer's active, but they keep fucking them up and they keep looking like accidents. They can't like get a murder that actually looks like a murder.
And I mean, like, by the time, like, the first believable one happens, like, oh, shit, there's still, like, 3 murders, and I'm like, well, they're praised as accidents to the town, and it's like, that's still, like, one too many to happen in a high school in 3 school years.
Yeah, let alone one.
Yeah, that everyone's like, oh, okay, yeah, no, sad, and the girl's like, and it also reveals these girls are popular too. That's a part of it too.
I did like that. I like that they were popular. They're like on the cheer squad. They're like the head. They're both the. There's a subtle thing they do, and they only touch on it. Like it's visually, you see it. They note it, but it only comes up in the actual dialogue of the movie one time that there's also a bit of a class divide between them.
Mm-hmm.
Like the
one of the girls in a trailer
is a rich girl, Brianna Hildebrand's like a poor girl, but they're both equally popular because they're like besties. There's no like I said, they only bring it up once, and no one else in the school brings it up. It's not like it's ever drawn, but it's just something that the movie very intentionally is making sure you know.
And I like the way the film shows you that too. Like early, the next word we'd be talking about, like they come home and she comes home to her. The one comes home to her 2 parents sitting watching like a show together, and it's clean and it's nice, and they're like, no honey, you're good, like you work so hard. And she runs upstairs, and then the other one comes home and it's a trailer, and her dad is clearly just like doing the best he can raising this single daughter. He's like,
I have to say though, they did a great. I do like they didn't make him. He's not the dad from.
Oh, he's not gross.
He's not like from The Dream Child, where like he's like a drunk asshole who's like
no, he's just
shit. He's like I should have said Dream Master. That guy is in
I know
recovery
you
in the
meant.
Dream Child.
I know who you're talking about.
But no, I was worried because, like, you see, like, you're talking about single dad living in a trailer. That's like prime for he's, got the
Abusing
white tank
her
top
and
and drinking straight from the whiskey bottle and calling her a whore for coming in
the
late, whatever. Like, we were primed for that. No, this guy was just a nice, normal, hardworking guy. Like, loved his daughter, even though his daughter's a psycho.
the joke of Randy Quaid in Not Another Teen Movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Although he was supposed to be loving, but he was just like, oh, just hammered, driving,
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a nice. You're right. It's a nice thing. Of just there's a lot of tropes in this that not there. But they but the girls, like, they show up to school, and then there's a whole element with the newscasters, and the newscasters like, girls, we're journalists. Leave it to us. Like, you're not gonna get on the news and
Yeah, no
we'll
one's
say,
taking them seriously, and the local cop is like, you're actually hindering my investigation with this shit, and blah 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 blah. Also, we didn't mention that Jack Quaid is the cop's son, and like
yeah, we're good.
they're kind of like buddy who does like maybe some video editing for stuff
Yeah,
and
it does
stuff.
really good video editing. Like, they have a really good video,
And also, I like that they had the throwaway line that he got held back a year to try and distract from the fact that Jack Quaid fully looks 30 in this movie.
he looks like he should be dating that hot teacher.
Yeah, yeah. When you find out the hot teacher is banging Craig Robinson, I was like, what?
Oh, I knew
I
you were
thought she
gonna
was
love.
Jack Quaid's girlfriend.
Yeah. I knew you were gonna love this here, too. When we get our brief Craig Robinson thing,
Oh
the
man, when Craig
girls,
Robinson showed up,
the,
I was so happy.
the girls.
And that he's canonically hot.
Well,
I was
that's what I'm about
so
to say. The
excited.
girls talk about, but like, huh, he is pretty hot. And I was like, wow. I wrote my note is, wow, Brian's gonna love that
I
line.
love it. I love it. Canonically hot. They're not wrong. The man's got it. It's beautiful.
I'm a fan. Uh, but but that doesn't happen for a little bit. But yeah, the girls do that. They're bummed because the boy that they duped to kill, and they even say like, uh, you know, she went out there like 30 times, 30 different hand jobs, and they never caught, like, no, and he finally showed up though. And that made me go, oh, that's another good story detail. I mean, the script's not strong, let's be real, but it's another little good story detail is this kid definitely accepted the date. I mean, she's not ugly, but like, oh, she does this with these guys. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
out there.
If you've
Great.
given that many hand jobs, you've got a reputation.
Like,
I'm not
unless
here to
that was
slut
a
shame,
joke.
but I'm telling you, the word's gotten around. You
Unless
go
that
off
was
the
a
bridge, you might get a handy.
Yeah, unless that was a joke with Michaela's. No, I'm sorry. With Jordan's. I'm trying to get their names right, and I
It
just
was
fucked them all
Michaela
up.
and
Brianna.
Brianna Hildebrand is the
Oh,
actress. I don't know what her character name was.
Sadie.
Sadie. There you go.
So Sadie. It might have been a joke about Sadie being, that promiscuous, but I liked, if it was there, I liked to think that, like, that kid was like, no, I'm not driving away in this car. I know you're not my girlfriend. Meaning, like, that's his one shot.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we get an introduction though, because the girls are very like, we need to get the story going, and we need to amass 100,000 followers, which is a crazy thought. But Josh Hutcherson's character, who's uncredited, and Josh Hutcherson doing little things. I used to hate the guy. I used to not hate him. It's one of those eye rolly actors when he was in the Hunger Games. I thought he was like a bad actor and this and that. I've seen him pop up in weird little tiny roles like this and there. Fun guy. He plays like the stereotypical, like, oh, every girl loves me and I'm dreamy, and it's part of the bit.
But I like too that like he's also doing the kind of like true crime thing. They imply that he does some kind of online stuff too, and that he has kind of like he's more of a natural. They're
Yeah,
trying hard to, and he just kind of like naturally has what they're looking to
he has
get.
15,000 followers,
Yeah.
or 14, and they want it. So they're like, all right. And this is where their story gets like very like I think the movie starts off really hot, like quick and paced, and it's
Mhm.
moving and it's exciting, and then it does have a long. I think it loses its focus a little bit for me.
Yeah, I
But they
agree. I think well, okay, so you have our part like we're talking about now, and it's kind of they hit this beat. They do it. They do like two this way. They decide on a person they're going to kill. They try to do the murder. It goes slightly awry and looks like an accident. They try it again. They kind of do the same thing with the other popular girl, right? They kind of like ID
yeah,
her,
that's what I say. They
their
get
rival,
too
kind of.
they get too like you forget about the serial killer being held hostage for most of it. They occasionally
So
check
do
in on
they.
their
That's
phone.
part of the problem.
And so do they, because they get wrapped in their bullshit because they're high school girls, or you should just say high schoolers. All their murders are based in jealousy.
Oh yeah, the way they pick who they're gonna kill is very
So
petty. It's real Heather. It got some real Heather's vibes.
yeah, so Josh Hutcherson is all right, and they're all fun kills, but it's like all right,
Oh yeah,
we're gonna. He rides his bike to think, rides his hog to think across this desolate place. Great, we're gonna blow his tires out, and he's dead that way, and that scene leads to a great bit of her talking to a guy who's like, "You need help with the car?" She's like, "No, I'm good." Blah blah blah. Terrible Candy Crush line of the time. She's like, oh, she loves Candy Crush. I was like, what?
yeah.
But
Topical reference.
topical. But Michaela is because Josh Washington died from the bike ride. He's like still breathing, trying to suffocate him, then kiss him. But it
Yeah,
also they
kisses the
stab him
wait.
a bunch.
Does not kiss him while suffocates him first, and then he is definitely fully dead when she is kissing him.
Oh yeah, and she has like a delusion where he's like, just glad you did it. Um, but and that leads to another thing where they're like accident because even their stab wounds are like the accident. All right, um, and once again the girls don't run around grieving. They're like, oh, he was my love, but
Well, even they're
smileys.
even actively resisting other people. Like part of the reason they get into it with the next girl they decide to kill is that she wants to cancel the prom out of respect to the like two dead students they now have, and they are like, obviously not wanting to do that because they want to have their prom and they don't care about these dead students because they killed
Yeah,
these students.
and they killed
So
him.
like they're like actively feuding with her. So like when people are trying to grieve and be respectful, they are like resisting openly. So
And
and also like I said, still always trying to like make content off of all of it, and like also like rub it in everybody's faces that they were right, that there is a
oh, it's so
killer. Like
parasitic, and they're right, and
yeah,
like this, and like there's little players of kids around him.
they never
One of
pull any punches. They like you like these characters, like you enjoy watching them, but you never like them. They're never
oh,
good
they're
characters. Like there's never a point where
so
they try to trick you. I mean, maybe a little bit, but
I think in the beginning
I
a
don't
little
think you ever
bit,
really
but
buy into it. I was worried they were gonna fuck up their movie, but I'm glad they never do.
they're so unlikable.
Yeah.
I mean, I like watching them.
Right,
They're like
exactly. They're fun to watch, but yeah, of course they're not
like
likable. They're
I
not.
would I would I would not really what I'm about to say, but like done right 10 years later, I'd like to see a Tragedy Girls too. To where do these girls end up with, right? But
When they've gotten like too comfortable and too complacent, and then they make some
are they
mistake,
award?
or
Do
they
they have
run into, or they run into a younger generation version of themselves who are
Are
like
they
looking to
award-winning? They're probably if they made this a sequel, it's probably like award-winning true crime
podcasters,
podcast filmmakers. Uh, but anyway,
documentarians.
there's like the head cheerleader, popular girl. That's their next victim, and your girl's a bitch. But I hate to say it, I agree with her about the shoes because I'm a stickler. Like I'm a stickler for something, but she ain't wrong because like they're doing like activity where they're lifting and stuff each other up. I'd imagine there's a purpose for the grip. She was
They
probably
need the
also just
right
being
shoes.
facetious as a character,
Yeah.
but I was like, I gotta get it.
Well, and also it's that thing of like, if you want to be you want to be an individual and all that, that's fine. But a team is a team. It's like there's a uniform. It's like, you know what I mean. There's like, that's not the place you do that. You got to wear what the
Well,
team wears when
they
you're
do
on a
what
team, right? Like that's part of it.
yeah. Yeah, kinda.
I
They
don't
do
know.
what but they do when they get to her kill, which I think is it's the final destination kill, right? They don't even get that right. She fights back.
Yeah, of
The
course.
girl, 'cause she's working late in the wood shop because they destroy her. Like it was kind of fucking. They destroyed a feed and read.
Yeah,
Like that was actually the most asshole thing these girls did. Was like,
yeah. I
oh,
know. I
this
was
thing.
like, that's good charity. Those things
Yeah,
rule.
I want to make one of those blockbuster ones people have been making.
Oh yeah, put movies in it.
Yeah, there was a spot we between me and you got plenty I could donate of just DVD. So,
I could pull some
uh,
shit off the shelf and give it away that I wouldn't
oh, I
miss.
meant to tell you. You know what I found on my Goodwill hunt recently? The Hansel and Gretel, or Gretel and Hansel, whatever the horror one.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The Oz Perkins one.
It was I meant to visit that earlier. It was a nice little $3
It's good,
find.
underrated. I really like that one. Very
Got,
moody, very atmospheric. Oz
yeah.
Perkins, he makes a good movie.
Yeah, gotta let me in and let the right one in remake. Let me in and
Oh, Let
Mama
Me In is
all.
so good. One of the best remakes. Matt
Oh,
Reeves.
it's great.
Like,
It's great.
it's
I'm gonna revisit
incredible.
all these. Anyway, that's sign up. But they get to the murder of the popular girl, the cheerleader, and it's the sloppiest, right? But also, like to them, they're losing their focus. They're worried about the look of the masks and talk about uniforms. The girls are like they're looking good. They have their kill uniforms on, but the girl notices her shoes. It's a
Yeah,
good
she wears
comedy
the
beat,
same shoes they were already having a conversation about
which
earlier, which is
again
just incredibly stupid.
it's like we've seen like bank heist movies a lot, right?
Yeah.
Like the town, like oh the tattoo or something like it's the easiest slip up. So they say fuck it, the killer, but the way they kill her is they kind of can't get it right, but this like chain thing pops up, hangs her up, and swings her through a saw,
And
and
like
they're
it
like
cuts her like down the middle of her head.
yeah, and they're like
Yeah, that's
great,
a fun one. That
it's
one and the
fun,
Craig Robinson one were probably the most fun in the
yeah,
whole
and
thing.
they're like great, another accident. So they make sure they like, and that's one thing I also like to show you. Uh, these girls, they reference like Breaking Bad and shit. They hack up body. They're very comfortability of just not just
Yeah,
killing, hacking up and like playing with limbs.
yeah, yeah. Hacking up
Uh,
corpses, they have no problem.
and they do that. They put it everywhere. They're like, "There's no mistake. There's a killer in here."
Yeah, this could not
Like
have been an accident. We have to make this in a way that it could not have been an accident.
yeah.
So, yeah,
I like the joke in there too with the janitor. Just peeks his head in. He's
like
not
just
paying.
comes in, grabs the bag, never looks up, like just kind of
Yeah,
goes right back out, shuts
it's
off the
great.
light on them and stuff. Like doesn't even notice they're there. That was funny. Oblivious janitor was a funny gag.
This is a funny gag. But yeah, and this is when Craig pops in though. Now everyone's riled up, and there's like
Well,
town.
because now that's confirmed killer, and they were right. They're finally soaking up some of that attention they wanted. They're finally
Mhm.
getting it.
The
Um,
blog's getting a little bit of action back to it. The Twitter.
I do start to like. This is where like Jack Quaid first kind of seems like maybe he thinks something's up
Well,
too. Like
she's
he's
so
starting to give little hints.
she's so dumb.
Yeah, well, Michaela's very terrible. Like she has her bloody shoes. Then where like again, like these shoes are such a huge plot point.
For girls
She
as
has
big
him like
and
where he can see him, and obviously plays it off. But like that makes him suspicious. But even so, he's just like I feel like if he showed his like he's trying to show his dad some stuff, and his dad's just totally ignoring him, doesn't want to see it, doesn't want. But I feel like the girls are so sloppy and bad at this. that if he'd have like shown an actual law enforcement person some of the stuff they gave him, they would immediately been able to look at it and be like, oh shit, whoever gave you this is the killer. Like just
Yeah.
like based on like information they had and stuff like that they gave him to edit together, somebody would be like immediately his dad like looks over at the laptop and is like, oh my god, there's so much evidence here. I don't know. I just like I feel like if any competent law enforcement person from any other movie like even caught a
Well,
glimpse of these girls, you'd be like, oh yeah, those girls are killers.
well,
This is a
like
Scream movie, they'd immediately be picked out.
easily, and what like scratched my head with it too is not even that these girls are clearly killers, is they focus so much how they were so clever to figure the serial killer's pattern out, and they're clearly true crime junkies.
Yeah.
Everything they have is on technology.
Yeah.
They're monitoring the killer through like periscope, they're basically imply. They have a digital footprint the size of whatever. They're calling their victims right before they kill them, even from a burner phone. It's still like all those little things. Like again, the movies.
Well, yeah, we're talking
fun.
about. You were saying about the like whatever the rally where they introduce Craig Robinson and they're talking about the serial killer. It's like a
Mass
town
text.
meeting about it. Yeah, they all get a mass text, but like she's
cops,
using the burner phone right there in front of everybody. Like, you know what I mean?
And the cops
like,
don't go, how'd everyone get a big text message?
Yeah.
Like, that's one where you call, like, I don't know how it works, but you call, like, hey, bigger county police department, we need some services right now.
Yeah.
Because this movie is vaguely supposed to be it's in no state and no town.
Yeah, I don't. They never really nail it down.
But
any town, USA.
Yes. But yeah, I like how Jack Quaid in that scenario though, when he picks up too, she's like, what? Heavy period dating. He's like, I don't think that's how it works. Like in like some other movies, someone would go, oh yeah, gross. And it's like
gross,
a guy being like,
stuff.
the guy being like, no, I'm like 18. I understand a woman's body. But no, it's a good little reveal. He's noticing he's still too dumb to realize it's both of them. But
he's
yeah,
starting
so
to pick up something's weird, something's going on. He's definitely starting to hint around.
Craig Robinson shows up, who feels like they were just able to. It feels like we didn't have this role written, but Craig Robinson said, "Yeah, I'm free."
I feel like nothing against Craig Robinson because obviously I love him, but I feel like it was written probably for a dude who like was like was it Shamar Moore from Criminal Minds or something like that?
Joe,
where he's like,
what's it like, Joe Magnet?
Yeah, Joe Manganiello or something like that.
Or whatever.
Yeah, and then they got to cast Craig Robinson. They're like, but leave all the lines the same. Just leave it all like,
it's great.
He's still hot. He still bangs the teacher. He's like, that's all fine.
Had firefight like truly made his ranks through all the fight. He's like, you guys.
He's like the fire marshal or something. Like, yeah.
Yeah, he goes. I love his little speech too because he takes their spotlight. The girls are like, yeah, follow us.
It's jealousy that gets them motivated, And they're mad that because he becomes the like face of the movement all of a sudden, like over
he's
them.
Like, no, justice for what's her name? The girl, whatever. Yeah. And doesn't matter, but yeah. But Craig, Big Al's like, all right. And I was like, yeah, Big Al, because I love how he gets up and he's like, you know who I am. I'm the fire marshal. I'm like, yeah. And the top teacher's like, oh, I know who you are.
Yeah, oh yeah, I know.
But the girls, it's such a weird break in the movie because they're like, nah, you're taking our spotlight. Instead of just like letting other things happen, follow them. They have a plan to drug him.
Well, I like that they acknowledge that like they both like are soaking wet, probably weigh 115 pounds, and he is Craig Robinson. So like they're like, we can't just like attack him and take him out like a normal guy. We gotta like come up with something to bring him down first. So they're gonna like drug him. They like go to his gym.
Go to his gym, set up the water bottle, and it's work. I mean, it's like working, but like Sadie,
but it's taking too long, and Sadie gets a call from Yeah. Well,
so she tries to hit him with a dumbbell, and there's a fight back, and
oh, the fight is great because I was like, oh, Craig Robinson would level both these girls, and he does. Like, I
yeah,
was
he
like, yeah,
fucks
this
them
is
up.
exactly what it should be like. There's no you can't.
Once again, it's an accident that really gets them. It's the
Yeah.
weight on the head.
Oh yeah, I love that was great. We the reason Sadie couldn't wait was that Jack Quaid has called her and is like, I'm coming to your house to meet you because he's got these like feelings or whatever. He's got this like thing going on with Michaela that he's like he's suspecting her or whatever. So like she jumps the line on the plan and rushes things and then it goes off. But of course they do like in their own Final Destination way manage to kill him, which I think this along with the other one was really great where the weight comes down and takes just the top of his head off. Like that's pretty good stuff.
Yeah, it's and then there's another. So between here, the means this kidnapped serial killer escapes.
Well, right there, they do a memorial for now. There's
Well,
hashtag
that's what I'm
Remember
saying.
Al, and
Well,
they're doing
remember
like a
Al,
memorial, like a candlelight vigil for
and
Al.
they're for they were I want to know in here like the crowd, not just the girls, are way too excited that they're storming the streets and like smiley for remembering Al. They're like
Yeah,
taking photos and they're like, "Yeah, remember Al." And it's like, what red flags?
yeah,
This
yeah.
pillar of the
I mean,
community
I don't
just
like to do that thing where because that's a thing in true crime where they judge people's reaction, like, oh, you weren't sad enough, so you must be the
no.
killer. You didn't.
This
I don't
movie,
want to do that, but these girls
this
are
movie, I'm
being.
saying it's a funny scene of like the excitement, and then the mayor. I did have to like double check and rewind a little. The mayor is piped right through a light pole downtown.
Yeah, yeah, like because that's when they realized the girls realized that the real killer, Lowell, Kevin Durant, has escaped their custody and is on the loose again. Um, and we do a little jump then. They do a little like 2 week time jump.
Yeah, they're trying to avoid like the basically their life now is like avoiding being the target of Lowell, who they
Right,
know he's
because
coming.
they know he's out, and it's like everybody, is still worried about the killer, but whereas before they didn't have to be, now they too have to be worried about the killer
And she's
because they
getting
know
close.
they're actually the only ones who have to be worried about the killer because he's definitely specifically going to be coming after them now.
Yeah, and Sadie's relationship with Jack Quaid is getting a little more intimate or flirtatious at this time. He's still trying to talk to her about the event. And then that's they meet. She
I
says, "Come
really
over."
thought they were going to do a reveal here, and maybe they missed a note. I think it maybe, I thought the reveal was going to be not so much that he only suspected Sadie or suspected it was Michaela or whatever and had stolen, he snatches the
He
burner
steals a
phone and
phone.
everything. He's trying to hack the burner phone. Um, But I thought the reveal was going to be that he always knew what they were up to, and that he was like backing them up, and
Oh,
was like not in on it, like they didn't know he was in on it, but was in on it and always knew and was like helping behind
would
the
have been like, "Yeah,
scenes.
girls, I know
Yeah, I thought that
you're
was
not
gonna
that
be.
good."
I was kind of hoping that's what he was gonna reveal to her, like you guys are being too
Yeah,
sloppy. I can't keep this up, or I
I
mean,
think,
like a warning, like he knew everything, but it was a little more traditional, just like,
and I,
hey, I think Michaela might be in on this or something,
and I
and
think on it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. I think the movie's a little too girl power for that.
yeah, they wouldn't want to give him the credit that much
Yeah, be
credit.
like, oh, now, because I think as an audience member, and maybe this is my own bias in this, be like, oh, now that he's been knowing about it and cool with it, it validates everything they're doing, and now it's gonna
Yeah,
be, whatever. Not validates, but like, he was a little more likable than the other two
yeah,
as a character. Um, but the girls notice the phone's missing, and they're like, he has it. He tells them, and she's like, they're like, all right, well, you're gonna kill. Actually, I'm sorry. Alexander Shipp is like, I'll go and slit his throat. It's fine. And Brianna Sadie is like, no, it's my friend. I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll do it. So she goes up there, sneaks in the house because remember his dad's the sheriff and was like, stay away from these two girls. They're trouble. She sneaks in the house. They're hanging in the room. He reveals the plan, and she instead of taking the knife, they actually start hooking up. She starts feeling hot for him. That's how I felt. It wasn't a distraction.
Yeah, no, it seemed genuine. She starts like, I don't know, he's like telling her about Michaela or whatever, what he thinks, what his theory is, and I think, his genuine concern for her, even though it's misplaced, does work on her to some extent.
Yeah, and she's like, all right, and they start hooking up, but as they're hooking up, guess who pays a visit?
I love it. It's like, just like they forgot about him, we kind of forget about him for a second, and then boom, baby, Lowell's here.
He's there, and Jack Quaid takes a machete right to the shoulder.
Yeah.
And,
classic survivable horror movie wound.
Yeah, Sadie is like, she kind of fights back a little bit, this and that, nothing, runs around, fucking Michaela outside, hears it all going on through the phone, but throws a gnome through the window to wake the sheriff up.
Yeah, the sheriff's like asleep downstairs. She wakes him up and he comes up, shoots at Lowell, and Lowell dives out the window. We get the Halloween shot of him looking out over the balcony and Lowell's not being down on the ground. And so, Lowell escapes, and then with Jack Quaid surviving the attack and then Sadie supposedly saving him, she gets that attention that they've both been craving.
She breaks the phone.
Yeah, she does manage to break the phone. While in the scuffle, she steps on the phone purposefully after.
No. She, when there's just they're talking, they're not in the scuffle, she goes back and
it's after Lowell's gone out the window.
It was very intentional.
It's over. That was my point, is that it's intentional. It doesn't get broken during the fight, but she kind of uses the fight as an opportunity to step on it and break it.
Yeah, no one's paying attention to
when nobody's paying attention to it.
And this puts her in the good graces of the sheriff, Jack Quaid, and the whole town, because this town.
Her and Jack Quaid basically start a relationship too.
Oh, they do. They're a
legitimate relationship.
They're a couple, and only for a couple of weeks. And Michaela is just jealous, cut out of the picture. And a little earlier in the movie, Lowell makes a point to say, when
he's captive, he tries to put the wedge between them.
Yeah, he's like, you're a sociopath. I'm a sociopath. That other girl, you're more like me. And that's there. But
it doesn't work at the time, but he's definitely planting the seed. You know what I mean? And they're gonna get back around to it.
When Michaela, I'm sorry, not Michaela. When Sadie gives her podium speech accepting the award, her dad's standing there, everyone's indebted. The switch is, so all throughout the movie, whenever they said, "Oh, you're tragedy girl," they say, "No, we're tragedy girls." This is our name.
The name of the name of their YouTube or their Instagram or whatever. It's Tragedy Girls
with an S, and then the kicker, she's on the podium. She says, "No, well," they say, "You're the tragedy girl."
And somebody asks her, "What's next for the tragedy girl?" That kind of thing.
And she doesn't correct them. And that sends Michaela to run away, and you don't really see her until her final.
Well, they do have the one confrontation. She comes and confronts her again in a very obvious way in front of everybody when they're decorating for prom, and the thing of are you guys fighting about? It was like if you were singing. They have Chekhov's nerdy girl who's in the whole movie, who's always just
she's
hanging
fun.
around.
I like that character.
I like that character too, and I like that they never do anything big with her. She's just kind of always there, and then she kind of gets drunk at prom, and that's fun. But I was kind of always waiting for her to have a bigger moment because she is kind of always around. But also, I just wanted her to be like, are you guys arguing about a murder right now? Real obviously, they're clearly talking about something.
You guys wear a lot of knives and horror decor. You're only about this. You might be arguing about a murder.
You seem like you might be arguing about a murder right now.
That would have been a good. that would have been a good one. And then like if there was a way to like still keep this movie in that tight uh time runtime to like maybe they then just kill her sloppily as like a fuck you bitch.
Yeah.
But they don't. But it's prom night. Jack Quaid miraculously recovered. No more,
Yeah.
no more sling from
No more
taking a
sling for his arm. It's not
But I think
fired.
it's been a month. I think it's been a month or two. Like I
Yeah, it's been a
like,
little while, I think.
and the girls though, it's prom night. If I
Classic
were to,
high school movie prom climax. You have
if
to. Like
if
you
I
it's
were to
actually
cut,
illegal if your high school movie does not have a climax at a prom.
and this is, you know what? At least this movie built towards the prom, and they're like seniors at prom. It drives me crazy when they're like in different grades, and they're like
Yeah.
prom, and it's like you're sophomore, a junior. What do you
You're
mean?
gonna have like a bunch of proms.
Um, you one. At least I had one. But the only thing I would want to cut though from the ending is the bit of the dad not knowing who Jack Quaid was and all that shit didn't play
Yeah.
well for me. I was like,
Oh.
it's whatever, and this whole thing. But he picks her up, go to
Well, yeah, they have a
prom.
moment. It's like it feels like it's out of a different movie because like
It's
the dad
yeah,
hasn't been like that the whole time, and then all of a sudden he's like the dad from a Goofy movie when he shows up, and he's like
yeah.
standing in the doorway. It's like
It's like,
that.
oh, I don't know how to use a phone, and then she takes the selfie, and it's like, 'cause it sounds weird. It would have made sense the way they describe that relationship. The dad's loving enough where he'd be like, "Oh my god, my daughter's going to prom. I can't believe how big you've gotten. You
Yeah.
know how you're grown." Very minor complaint. He goes, they go to prom, and we get the
Also, their
reveal.
prom has a Titanic theme. Very funny. Like
That's
just a funny theme to have for your prom.
well, you can't, more movie reference.
The night to remember.
Yeah. Michaela and Lowell are nicely taking the cab.
Yeah, we see Michaela getting. I love Michaela's oblivious parents. They're very funny. Like they're yuppie, like oblivious yuppie parents.
I have fun.
Like overly loving and just like positive and smiley. And she gets in the limo, and then Lowell's driving, and we're like, yeah, they teamed up with Lowell.
Yeah, and like, this movie does have some nice little like movie shots like that where it's like the graphics on screen. And I forgot to mention, I did like the cut of explaining the difference between different types of serial killers they have. It's like an early
Yeah,
animation and this is part of their channel. It was a nice inclusion. There's a lot of little graphical things like that. That shot of the limo is the same way. It's like, okay, this is a
yeah,
movie, but all right, so that's going on. She's like, all right, they're
yeah.
gonna the final night at prom. They're in there, and the hot teacher goes out for a cigarette. She's like, "What the fuck are you doing here, bitch?" She gets jacked up by the serial killer. Uh, and then now that between Sadie and Michaela, like it was Sadie's trying to chase Michaela to talk to her,
Yeah.
and then they
She
get a
sees
nice.
Michaela at the like once they also Jack Quaid and Sadie win prom king and queen. So we know they're gonna do some kind of, like you can feel the Carrie reference coming. Like you can feel it building to a Carrie reference. And we do eventually get there.
Yes,
But
you gotta get. I mean, how do you
but
not
like
get the kid?
yeah, Michaela sends her a message like of the dead teacher to let her know that like, hey, I'm here, I'm back in the
Mm-hmm.
mix. And she sees her and she like kind of lures Sadie to, you
Well,
know, an empty part of the high school,
you're on the stage or
the
something.
stay, the gym. They're in the apparently this apparently this school has a separate place for their school dances that isn't the gym or the auditorium because
Where
that's
they'd
where
all
mine
hear her.
always were.
But also, let's be real. This town's like well off enough. Their prom would be at some like places where people have weddings at,
Yeah, it'd be like
some
the
like venue. But no, the one thing I
true.
do think, and once again, this is not in reality, and these aren't real criticisms. The serial killer's still out there. The sheriff saw him run away.
Yeah.
Prom would be all this stuff
Yeah.
would be
Well, like I said,
completely
we're
canceled.
definitely like stretching the yeah, this movie definitely takes place in its own reality. Like
Oh,
the
no
rules of the
security
Tragedy Girls
cameras.
universe are very loose.
Yeah, no security cameras ever. Um,
Excuse me.
but the girls they get into it in the backstage in the scuffle, and I don't think we mentioned it, but like Jack Quaid, his mom tragically died, and it's always sat with him wrong. Well,
And I had a note like about the time that I was like, wow, Jack Quaid seems like he's on the case here. I was like, also, did they have something to do with Jack Quaid's mom? And yeah, they did. I forgot to mention, I just thought it was a cool reveal. We talked about the reveal of like her getting in the limo and Lowell being the driver. We didn't talk about that when all that happens and Lowell gets away. Sadie sees him escape, or I'm sorry, Michaela sees him escape. And we kind of think, at least in my mind, I was like, "Oh, she's gonna recapture. They're gonna recapture him."
mm-hmm.
And then that's not what happened. Then we find out that they teamed up instead. So I was just like, that was a beat that we missed, but that I thought was a fun little moment in the movie
fun.
where I was like, I thought they were gonna recapture him. Then the reveal that actually no, she's teamed up with him now was cool.
Oh yeah. It's a nice beat. It's also nice to be you don't get a redundancy and waste of time of seeing like we got your back.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, exactly. We don't need to see him tied back up, and now we're doing that beat again. You
or
know,
like she hits
this
him with her car, and the whole point of having Lowell in the movie was pointless, and now like Michaela's taken on the mantle and is just gonna run around and be insane now. Like it's nice reveal of this. Remember the two are there, and
they're having their big confrontation.
Yeah, and Sadie, I'm sorry, Michaela's like Sadie. It's like the the Vader moment almost. She's like, join us. It's fine. He's under my thing. Lowell's so unhinged, but he's like listening to he's like listening to Michaela a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, nah, it's good. We're doing too much because she sees. She's like, I have a scholarship. I have this future.
Yeah, you definitely feel the vibe that she's like toying with like a normal life. She's like, no, like she's ready to like. You think maybe she's ready to leave this behind. Maybe she's ready to not do this anymore. And this is where I thought I was like, oh man, they're gonna fuck up their own movie. I was legitimately like, if this movie ends with like Sadie and Michaela having a big fight, knockdown, drag out fight, and Sadie overcoming and surviving, and her being the final girl or whatever, and Sadie being Michaela's the killer, Sadie's the final girl. They're pitted against each other. I would have been so bummed out.
It could have went real bad.
Like that would have just been so hacky and lame. Fortunately, though, Jack Quaid overhears that they were. They basically killed her mom. They caused the accident.
They
purposefully caused the accident.
They strangled her. And
they strangled from behind with a jump rope.
Yeah, and
like Chucky.
Yeah, just like Chuck, because I guess she took him to like practice or whatever.
Yeah, she was giving a ride home from cheer practice or some dumb shit.
And but like the biggest reveal is like because I think when the movie that everyone wants to set it up like Michaela's the true sociopath. Sadie somewhat has a conscience.
Yeah.
And in those moments, Michaela's one was like, no, it's your 7-year-old ass who told me we should do this. Yeah. You had a smile on your face and never batted an eye. And Michaela, and I cried about it. That's what I said earlier. But she's like, I cried about it because I didn't want to upset you. But she clearly, blah blah blah. But Jack Quaid hears it and still comes out and wants to save.
Yeah, still is gonna let Sadie off the hook. Apparently,
he's like, come with me, this and that, and they kill. They just shoot the serial killer. Like Lowell just dies with taking a bullet.
Like hinting around that he's not gonna be under Michaela's control. And he's gonna kill Sadie, and like that was the one rule: you don't hurt Sadie. And Michaela immediately just shoots him, which I was like, that's great. I love that. Did an ant just go across my camera?
I saw that.
I think there's like a little ant or something on my camera.
I saw that. So, get that ant. So yeah, little
really tiny little thing.
No one in the auditorium hears a gunshot.
The gunshot. Hey, that music's really loud. The music's really stunning, man.
But Jack Quaid, they basically thing. It's like, oh, this, like you said, or is it gonna pivot? It's me this. Nope. Jack Quaid just gets like that is a carrier shot almost of hung up from some I guess stage lighting ropes and shit.
Yeah, she is like, I love that. He's like, gonna save her, and she's like, no, like, she doesn't say it, but it's like, Michaela just saved me. She saved me from, I was about to go down the path of this boring, normal, like, bullshit, and she's right. That's not what I am. I'm a fucking monster.
Go back to killing cats.
Yeah, like,
remember the dad earlier goes, "You see our cat?" And she's like, "No." But yeah, so we get rid of Jack Quaid, and then I mean, the movie does wrap up. They put those cool masks on.
They put their cool masks on. I love that. I love that it's like a continuation of like they were working towards it. Like the first mask when they kill the popular girl, that's like, the prototype. That's the Daredevil black costume. He hasn't gotten to the final episode yet.
And that's a good point. And yeah, they got these cool like.
Well, they're in their prom dresses and they have the mask. So they've gone full tragedy girl. They are like that. They're their own. Yeah, they're the Purge. They're those.
It's strangers. The Purge mask, kind of. Yeah. The neon and shit. But anyway, they do that, and instead of
Carrie finale, they chain up the doors and they burn up their
doors.
They burn down their prom. They burn up all their fellow students.
And just sit there on the side. And once again,
they send a mass text that nobody can trace apparently, and they
124 prom goers. But yeah, and basically everything. The movie ends with everything going their way.
Yeah, it ends with our girls off on their next adventure. They're heading off to college together to go star in the sequel.
I just thought what would be a good sequel, or at least I think might be a good sequel.
College Years.
No, we're too late for College Years.
Yeah, it's been too long now. They'd be out of college. They'd be just fine. It's been 5-6 years now.
Yeah, I think you could do a movie where it's not maybe focused on them so much, and you were kind of saying, and it's not even a younger one, is something around is like, hey, this big, like this would be a historically big tragedy. That town, that ruined this town. That town would become a ghost town that used to have a high school and 124 kids died in it.
Yeah.
Like that. What if there was some sort of later like podcast, like, oh, there's this true crime podcast trying to piece together the Anywhere USA.
Well, because it all gets pinned on Lowell, so like, yeah, you have them diving back in. Somebody's like going over all the old stuff and like reinvestigating and looking into the Lowell, whatever they call him. I forget what they gave him. He had some kind of name, the fucking butcher
kind of like
whatever or something. Yeah.
Kind of like, I think when they rebooted, you remember they had that random off season of Dexter that came out a couple years ago?
Oh, when they did like a follow up season. Sure,
they did like a follow up like 10 years later. They kind of do that where they're like, hey, all this tragedy happens and there's a true crime podcast about it going on. It might be this guy though who's around it, blah blah. Like that could be an interesting lane to do, or just a fun slasher follow up of. This is where they're at.
Wouldn't it be a thing where it starts out like the girls wouldn't be able to resist being interviewed by like if somebody they would love that, right? They'd want to be interviewed about it and stuff. But then they realize maybe they can start to realize what's going on, and then you have
they don't like the TikTokers.
Yeah. And then maybe you have them trying to go after the podcasters, and maybe the podcasters are figuring things as they're figuring out what's going on. And I don't know, it could be fun. I would watch that.
When I first, I guess final thoughts and everything. When I first saw the movie, I remember thinking it's okay. I didn't love it. It was nothing to. Kind of we were talking about Cobweb earlier. I remember going, it's interesting enough. I liked it. There was some good. There was some bad. It's not perfect. I think some of the over millennial dialogue bothered me. This second watch, this is the second time I watched it. I had a re-blast with this, and it was one of those ones like, oh no, I'm glad we chose this movie to talk about this time.
Yeah, full disclosure, I was a little tentative. I was like, I wonder if this is gonna be like a thing I hate. This could be a thing I like.
And I was kind of
I could have easily seen this being a thing that I was gonna hate, But like I said, overall, I think compared to like a Freaky or we talked about Scream Queens and stuff like that, I feel like I would put this like on an upper tier. Even above some of those, So,
yeah, it's good. It's
like it's self-aware. It's operating on its own. It's like operating by its own rules, which is fine. Like if you know if you are
yeah,
if you are okay with that, you can have a very good time with this movie.
I kind of said before we started or during our things, like, this is one where I'm like, I love during our spooky season time mixing in horror comedies.
Oh, absolutely.
And this would be one where I'm like, oh, that's a nice breath. That's gonna have that itch of horror, but I don't gotta sit down and watch Cujo or I'm just thinking of heavy ass movies
Yeah,
or like
something more
fucking
brutal. Yeah.
yeah, like Hereditary or whatever tonight, like, or that's
Yeah.
you
Yeah, this
gotta
very much has the tone of like spooky season, fun,
yes,
scary.
fun.
Yeah,
Spooky season's fun, scary, except for the except for the once a week or a couple times a week, depending on how
yeah,
hard you're going. We're like, nah, nah, nah. I want to like they drop a movie I truly don't have much interest in. I don't like those type of movies. Like the one they drop in here is like Martyrs, right?
oh right, yeah,
She's like, it was great, right? And Jack Quaid's like, yeah, I guess I was trying to get in.
yeah.
I guess I was trying to get in some
You
of the
mean by
French
great?
extremist movies, like,
Yeah,
you know, and it's like, yeah, I don't personally. I've talked about it before in this, like, not the extreme torture. I get that meaning, not for me, but
yeah. I don't go out of my
um,
way for like. I don't need my horror movie to make me feel like legitimately bad. To enjoy it. I'm good.
um, but yeah, no, I'm glad we chatted with it. Anything else you'd like to add, my man?
No, no. Like I said, this was a fun one. I'm glad. Like I said, I don't know if it's a thing I ever would have got around to without the show. So I'm glad I watched it.
Yeah, and if you can, for your purposes, highly recommend this
Yeah, boutique
copy.
Blu-ray. Absolutely. I'm always
Um,
up for that.
I tracked that one for our purposes. I tracked it on eBay and looked for someone selling it low. But anyway, uh, that's it. Until next time, everyone, stay frightful. Bye.
Welcome to Flyover State of Fear.